Let's look more specifically at chikungunya with this nice figure made by Scott C. Weaver from the University of Texas Medical Branch. So this is talking about arrival of chikungunya virus in the New World. So New World is basically the Western Hemisphere. Prospects for spread and impact on public health. So this is again a combination of warming, wetting, so mosquito population becoming more abundant, wet weather vegetation, and people movement. So it's not just climate and it's not just people. It's complicated in the sense the climate impacts in some places lead to problems locally like conflicts, terrorism, piracy, whatever. But some people just pick up and leave and look for greener pastures, which happens even otherwise with poverty. Anyway, somebody like me would migrate to a place like US in search of education and better opportunities, right? Nonetheless, when we go back and forth, we create these human connections which combine with environmental connections and environmental changes to produce spread of diseases. So this is the Asian lineage from 1958 to 2014 and Indian Ocean lineage from 2004 to 2013. So you can see places like East Africa, Madagascar, which had the Indian Ocean lineage of the chikungunya, which is related to the local primates, monkeys, vegetation, mosquitoes, and then there is a mixing here of the two strains. India is like the hub here, plus these Southeast Asian countries, and there is the Asian lineage of chikungunya, which is known for much longer, 1958 to 2014. And you can see that there is a nice mélange happening here, a nice mix. I spoke some French there, mélange. All right. So the mixing there happens, and during 1963 to 1973, before 1958, and then over the more recent periods, it begins to go out towards Europe. Italy was the hotspot, and then I think Spain and France started to exchange populations and chikungunya. And more recently, the island states of the Atlantic, the Caribbean, West Indies, and so on, received from 2013 onwards the Asian lineage of the chikungunya. We won't talk about who carried what, but nonetheless, you know that these are mostly economic migrations seeking better opportunities, right? So as I said, a map like this shows the periods before, like 1958 onwards, where the exchanges are more probably business and cultural, maybe religious, whatever. And then more recently they are favored by other opportunities. For example, 1958 is too early for global warming to have manifested in its full glory yet, and the migrations would have been more as slave labor, for example, or ships carrying workers, etc. Okay, let's not get into too much discussion on those details. Here is a nice figure from impactsofclimatechange.info, which is reported in another paper that I stole it from. Looks at 6 different aspects of human systems. Okay, health, food, water, infrastructure, economy, and security, with many subcategories within each of them, for which the impacts have already been seen. Okay, the heights of the bars here that are shown indicate the number of hazards implicated in the impacts. Okay, what are the hazards that produced the impacts that are recorded? So we here they analyze the climate hazards, and the complete table of climate hazards and human aspects are at this link that's listed here. Okay, so there is water, health, infrastructure, economy, security, and food. And just to look at some examples, again, water, runoff and flow, scarcity, supply, quality. So water always comes down to quantity, quality, and access, right? That's where the social inequities may come in terms of just having physical or economic access to water, plus having the government spend enough to provide you clean water. Some places, richer places within the same country, may have better access to cleaner water than poorer places. Okay, health, disease, recreation, air quality, death, pathogen diseases, mental health, vector-borne. This is a very long list, right? Life expectancy, educational attainment, culture, affective disorder, so on and so forth. Infrastructure also creates social inequities because again, rural areas may have fewer infrastructures like roads, shelters, wastewater treatment, and so on. Plus, energy infrastructure which is polluting may be put in poor neighborhoods, which is very common. Many examples of that even in a rich country like US and a rich state like California. Okay, economy, obviously, tourism, there are pros and cons. You want tourism, you want the income from tourism, but with that comes probably diseases, which happened during COVID, right? Operation costs, infrastructure damage, property damage, adaptation. So we haven't talked in detail about climate adaptation and mitigation. We'll touch upon it a little bit again. Economic growth, which is a good thing, but comes with some negative impacts and hazards and so on. So the number of hazards shown here, you can see, go from 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, for each sector, different number of hazards have been observed. Okay, I won't go into all the details, but sorry about that. You can imagine the interlinking of climate impact on each of these sectors and the hazards within them and the health outcomes related to that. Okay, it gets complicated. Institutional role, public-private partnerships, education's role, vulnerability, socioeconomic vulnerability, and so on. So we will try to discuss the details as we go along, but I'm just trying to give you a sense based on the book. I have added many things myself to expand a little bit more the concepts, but you should be able to kind of always take something and find the related factors back to climate change. It's not always a direct one-to-one link. There are many indirect ways in which climate impacts health outcomes, and that means mitigating the impact of climate change on health outcomes also needs to go through those steps to see where the leverage points are for maximum bang for the buck, as they say, in terms of mitigating the impacts. Okay, that's not mitigating climate, but once climate change has happened, how to mitigate the impact of climate change on human health outcomes. That's the main thing.